Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be looking at um, winter 2023 to 2024 season again, and then the 2024 hurricane season, which I've seen a couple other people do, and really we're not going to be going into anything crazy, but interesting early look at, because obviously this hurricane season is ending. So without further ado, let's get started. So the ENSO probabilities for November, we do see 100% chance of an El Nino sticking until maybe February, and then it goes down to a horrible 98% chance, obviously still very high. So we're going to be staying above 90% until April, March or April. April. So above 90% until April, which we're still at about 90%, about 88%. And then it takes a big dip. And in May, we're still at over a 60% chance. We don't really see us going into a neutral until late May, early June, as we can see by these ENSO probabilities right here. As you can see on the screen, over a 50% chance until June. And then that's a neutral, which could set up an active hurricane season. Now, obviously, we had an above-average hurricane season and a pretty strong neutral, but pretty strong El Nino, but it wasn't really of quality. Obviously, normally a large amount of them were tropical storms, and there was an average amount of hurricanes and major hurricanes, but it was like, what, 13 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 of those became major hurricanes, so it wasn't really of quality, and we do see La Nina chance is definitely starting to really go up here after April. So really, chances of a La Nina reemerging in the hurricane season could happen. That we could see a La Nina reemerge maybe in the late hurricane season. Let's go to the model predictions here, and really what we are going to see is that below this yellow line right here, this green line, I mean, is a La Nina, and we do see some ensembles starting to go into a La Nina around early June, and many of these going into a negative neutral in early June. That's what the consensus says, actually. So really, we could definitely be going into a La Nina, say, middle-late hurricane season, maybe even early hurricane season, if these outliers here are correct. Now, obviously, there's some that show us staying in a El Nino. I don't really think that's going to happen, but the CPC console, the dynamical average, and the statistical average, the dynamical and statistical average barely, but still show us going into a negative neutral, and the dynamical well, the CPC console and statistical average show us barely, but still going into a negative neutral, and the dynamical average shows it just there, just on the 0 mark, almost. And then now we're going to be looking at the climatology models. We're going to start with the ECMWF seasonal, and we're going to start with the monthly precipitation anomaly. So obviously November right now, it's pretty dry across the central United States. And then we're going to go pull this into December, and obviously that El Nino takes effect. And we do see really above average precipitation across the eastern United States, especially in the southeast, around Florida there in the Gulf Coast. That's going to continue into January, where we could see some, I don't agree with this, but it shows below average precip for parts of the Midwest, more northern, southeast. But still, for the Gulf Coast, Florida, a little bit up the East Coast, we are staying at above average precipitation. And yeah, then it goes back to widespread above average precipitation for the southeast, south central plains, and up the East Coast in February, and then March we start to get out of that. Well, actually, March we continue it, and then we also see some above average precip across the northern United States there. And that's probably due to springtime when they start to get more moisture again. Now, overall seasonally wise, we do see definitely pretty significantly above average precipitation for the winter season. Now, in terms of temperatures, they are actually, I don't agree with the whole United States being an above average temperatures. Obviously, I think southeast will be in below average temperatures. And then January, it starts to show that for the southeast Gulf Coast, below average temperatures, and that kind of sticks into February. In March, we go to average temperatures, and then we kind of get out of that. Now, in terms of pressure, the jet stream, stuff like that, all that good stuff, we do see a more southerly jet stream. So now with the strong El Nino, high precipitation, not high precipitation, a negative NAO and AO. So with those kind of have similar El Nino effects, more precipitation for the southern United States and stuff like that. But with all of the negative NAO, strong El Nino, and negative AO fueling all that moisture, and then more southern jet stream, that now overall El Ninos create below average severe weather, except for maybe the Gulf Coast and Florida where we see above average severe weather. But with that southern jet stream and all this moisture due to this abnormal strong negative NAO, AO, and strong El Nino, we definitely could see a lot of moisture and a lot of instability across Florida here too, and the Gulf Coast, where we could have severe weather across really this whole area for the winter season, especially these more southern and eastern areas into Texas as well. But Texas is really going to depend more, but that's going to cause flooding, severe weather, stuff like that, and that's going to continue into January and February, and then the jet stream obviously pulls a little more north for spring, obviously, like always, but it is still more south than usual, and then May, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's also going to cause more snow. I believe that I've stated this in my winter forecast for much of the East Coast, the southeast, places like that. We could see more snow, blizzards in here, and then a general below average snow for the Midwest here. And then obviously places like Texas could be getting snowstorms. In terms of pressure, yeah, it's going to be less than average, which could fuel those storms because storms go into lower pressure. Now we're going to go out to the canned sips seasonal here. So same thing, below average pressure could fuel storms, especially you see here for the southern United States. Not what I meant to click on. For the jet stream, much more south we can see, and it's the same for spring, so that could actually definitely more enhance the severe weather for the southeast with that much more south jet stream. For the precipitation, it's staying more consistent. We definitely see a lot more below average precipitation, above average precipitation, and we're gonna have to go to October, sadly, because this is not working very well. Oh, it's working now, so we got it working. Sorry about that, but yep, nope. Well, that sucks, but moving on. Below average above average precipitation for much of the southeast, and that obviously goes along with the negative NAO, AO, and okay, it's working now. I don't know why it hates me right now. Okay, skips to September. 2024. I don't know why that's happening, but if I keep saying below average precipitation, I mean above average precipitation due to the negative NAO, AO, and the strong El Nino, which is going to cause that. And overall seasonal, let's see if it will let us do that. I don't know why it's skipping. But this is for fall, so it's not as accurate. But you get the point, hopefully. Yeah, we see winter here. Much above average precipitation. Florida, southern Georgia, southern Alabama, into the Carolinas. That goes along with what I was saying. In terms of temperature, we're going to see. Please load. Yep, at least temperature works. Now it's showing above average precipitation. Above average temperatures. See, I'm mixing them up. But yeah, I don't really think we're going to have that. For the GFS version 2 seasonal, it's really we're seeing January widespread below average temperatures, which I do agree with. And then you see February there was just all over the place, especially for New England. Much below average temperatures. In terms of pressure, yes, much below average pressure, which is going along with a much more southern storm track we see here. Gonna cause a lot of storms, severe weather, flooding, especially for the Southwest as well. We can't forget about the Southwest or flooding they're gonna have. And we see this in December here. It's more developed that below average pattern, below average pressure, and that definitely goes along with definitely a strong southerly jet stream. Gonna cause, this probably is the worst out of all of that moisture. Definitely very favorable for severe weather outbreaks, maybe across this region, especially tornado outbreaks, severe weather outbreaks, stuff like that. And that's going to continue to January and February. And then, yeah, above average precipitation we can definitely see there for much of the winter across the southeast, southwest, and up the east coast a bit. And now we're going to go to the North Atlantic, so ocean. We're going to go to the Atlantic Basin. And we're going to go to the precipitation. So we do see, now we can't use CFS V2 monthly, it doesn't go far out enough. But for the CanSIP seasonal, the Canadian model, the Canadian climatology model, we're going to have to go back to October here, but it's not really too much of a difference. We do see going into next year, we see into May, we have a lot start right before the hurricane season starts. We have highly above average precipitation off the coast of Mexico, so a lot of tropical waves, and then below average precipitation for the Eastern Pacific. As we continue, we see into June and July a much more precipitation up the East Coast. Now, this is kind of what I said last year. I said East Coast would get it. We weren't really good with that because most of them just went out to sea. We didn't expect them all to recurve too easily, but if they waited a bit, they would have gone up the East Coast. But, so into June, it seems much of the precipitation is more west, so maybe some western Gulf activity. But July, August, we definitely do see here a lot of precipitation in the northern Caribbean, and that means we could not the southern Caribbean. I mean, there too, but mainly the northern Caribbean. And basically, what we're seeing here, we could see some stuff go up into the eastern Gulf, but also we could definitely see a good up the East Coast, rest of the Carolinas, Florida, stuff like that. And then here we definitely see some Yucatan activity there. And because it was actually letting me go to September, we're gonna go to the latest run, see if we can run September here, and here it's definitely different. We definitely have above average precip, but it seems here now that mainly it's going to go up the East Coast. But yeah, in terms of sea surface temperatures, we're going to go back to here. Oceanic sea surface temperatures. We definitely do see widespread above average sea surface temperatures the whole season. And in terms of the Bermuda High, which is this, we're gonna have to go to pressure here. We definitely do see. It kind of looks like a little bit of a weaker Bermuda High, average to maybe a little bit weaker. Actually, not weaker, stronger. So for at least the early season, we could definitely be seeing a much stronger Bermuda High. And with bridging, that is, like we said in the early season, a lot of Western Gulf activity is possible, and then into the Gulf. So really, not as much East Coast activity. But as we get towards that peak season, August and September, that Bermuda High definitely weakens. So really, what we're going to be seeing there is a lot of up the East Coast activity. So definitely East Coast of Florida, the Carolinas, the Bahamas, the Northern Caribbean, things like that. And if we're going to go to the ECMWF here, ECMWF seasonal, we do see into March and April. They're not very good at this, but they definitely, this model isn't really made for stuff like that. But definitely a weaker Bermuda High, so we're definitely potentially some Eastern Gulf activity in the early season, as the Bermuda High would be a little bit stronger. But overall, you see this is still May, and it's pretty weak. So unless it's strengthening more, this is going to be mainly the Northern Caribbean, Bahamas, and up the East Coast. So definitely more of an East Coast year. In terms of precipitation, yeah, it's kind of all over the place. I'm not really seeing any trends there. In terms of temperature, for ocean sea surface temperatures, widespread above average sea surface temperatures. So what we're seeing is potentially a more East Coast based year for the hurricane season, but definitely more active severe weather and rainy pattern for the southern United States for the winter, as well as more snow and colder temps, obviously, for the up the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, places like that. But that's really going to be it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed, and all of y'all have a great night. Goodbye, guys.